Hello everybody, welcome back to what I'm tempted to call Bridge Over Calmer Waters. And this is the second video in a series which we've devoted to exploiting long suits in suit contracts. So here's just a visual reminder of where we are. We're trying to negate losers in suit contracts, and we've started on a list of different ways of negating those losers. And the first one is, if I can get it to work, there we go, is long suits, usually in dummy, not always. And by long suits, it could even just be four cards long, but more usually is 5 or 6 cards. And we're going to use these long suits for discarding losers that we've identified in our own hand. So you'll remember back Thursday before last, during the learning in November, we looked at 5 hands, and the previous video was about those 5 hands, and today I'm just going to deal with the other 3 hands that I'd identified to talk about in that in the learning, but obviously we ran out of time. And so this video will be fairly long, I guess, but you can just go through it in your own time and you know, just stop and continue as you wish, answering the questions that I pose as we go along. So I have to say right at the outset that this hand was really well played by West. Didn't quite exploit the full advantage to be gained, but nevertheless it was a really good attempt. So again, it's a 4-heart contract by West, and North leads the Jack of Diamonds. Okay, this is obviously leading a doubleton, doesn't want to lead away from the King Jack of Spades, doesn't really want to lead a heart lead, would probably be quite okay here. Club lead, well, Jack of Diamonds seems relatively natural, let's say. Okay, so the first thing to do for West is obviously to count up losers, to identify and count losers, decide how many losers need to be negated, and then start thinking about how you're going to do that. So perhaps you'd like to spend a minute or two counting losers, working out how many losers you need to negate, and then think about how you're going to do that. Okay, let's identify the losers. So in the spade suit, we have 2 losers. So we're thinking about this from the point of view of declarer's hand, not dummy's hand. Declarer's hand, 2 spades, got loads of hearts, so it's fair to assume that you've only got 2 spade losers. Hearts, providing the hearts break 3-2, we have 8 hearts between us, so the opposition have 5. If they break 3-2, then there would be no losers in hearts. So the diamond suit, you've only got 1 loser there. You've got 2 losing diamonds in hand, but one of those is going to be covered by the King of Diamonds in dummy. So 1 loser in diamonds, and clearly no losers in clubs. The 8 of clubs there is covered by the King of Clubs in dummy. So the prospects of this contract look very good indeed, providing the hearts break. It's no problem. We've got 2 spades and 1 diamond loser, three losers, and that's enough to make 4 hearts. So perhaps we'll start thinking about how we might go about making over tricks. And the feature that you might want to alight on is to look at the club suit. So first of all, you've got 1 discard anyway. The Queen of Clubs, after the 8 of Clubs is taken care of by the King of Clubs, the Queen of Clubs is going to provide the discard in your own hand. And you're going to be able to discard either a diamond, the small diamond, get rid of that diamond loser, or you can get rid of one of the spades and get rid of one of the spade losers. Okay, so this looks good. So we're going to want to take out trumps. Hopefully they're going to break 3-2. And if they don't, then that's not going to be a problem because we're going to be able to discard a diamond loser on the queen of clubs. So we should make our contract even if the hearts break 4-1. So let's see how this goes. Immediately, though, we're faced with a question. Okay, the jack of diamonds, we're clearly going to win this and start taking out trumps. Are we going to win that trick in dummy, or are we going to win that trick in hand? So I want you to spend a moment thinking about which you think is best. So I'm not actually going to answer that question now. I'm going to play the hand as it was played by West, and we'll pick it up, and then we'll pick up the question of where to win that first lead later on as we see the hand unfold. Okay, so in fact, West chose to win the opening trick in hand. She then led low to the king. Obviously, you know, you don't want the suit to be blocked because that wastes entries. So you play low up to the king and then you play low back, and you notice that the hearts have broken to, both opponents have followed. So the hearts are breaking 3-2, which is great. So now we definitely know we're into over trick territory. So you take out the last trump because there's no need to, no need not to. In fact, there's a very good reason for positively taking that out. Okay, it doesn't really matter what you discard from dummy as long as it's not a club. Okay, so remove the last trump, and now again, very good, unblocking the ace of clubs first before entering dummy with the clubs. Okay, and note that the clubs, both ops have followed to the clubs. We started with 2 in hand, 5 in dummy, that's 7. The opposition have 6 clubs between them. They're going to break either 3-3 or 4-2. Okay, if you need to stop and think about that, just press pause and have a think yourself, make sure you've understood that. Okay, so 8 clubs have gone. Remember, count clubs as count your long suits, because that's an invaluable tool for being able to exploit. You're going to be developing long suits. In order to exploit the full value from that, you really need to count, make sure you know how many the opposition still have. Okay, so you've won in dummy with the king of clubs, and now you're going to play the queen of clubs. And you notice that South discards a spade. So that means the clubs have broken 4-2 rather than 3-3. Okay, you can discard a diamond from hand. So that's got rid of one of the 3 losers that you originally identified. You've still got these 2 spade losers though. Okay, North follows with the 10 of clubs. Okay. Declarer now plays another club and roughs in hand. That doesn't give her an extra trick, remember. That's the reason you're roughing, is not to provide an extra trick. That 3 of hearts is going to win a trick anyway. The reason is to draw out the opposition's last trump. Okay. And now re-enter dummy with the king of diamonds. And then, unfortunately, West hasn't taken full value from that long suit. All they've done is roughed a club with a rough that they were going to win with the trump that they were with which they were going to win a trick anyway, and it's now leading spades. And clearly, what happens is the opposition take 2 spades. Right, sorry about that. I got interrupted. Now I've completely lost my flow about where I am. Yes, okay. So the previous trick, Declarer made the error of playing a spade here, which South won. and could then have cashed a further spade trick, but chose instead to lead a diamond. And this allowed West to ruff. Oh, and then immediately conceded the other spade. Okay, so the number of sort of minor points here at the end. We'll go back to the main theme about developing long suits in a minute, but just let's have a look at the end. So leading the Queen of Diamonds is fine because there are no trumps in dummies, so you're kind of forcing West to reduce their trumps, so it doesn't do any harm. So West trumps. Now, if you're in a situation like this at the end with two tricks to play, always play the trump first. Okay, you know the trump's going to win. And basically, you're asking the opposition to choose which of their two cards they're going to discard. And in that situation, there's always the possibility that the opponents will make a mistake and throw away the king of spades. It's unlikely and probably impossible in this particular case, but I see this quite a lot. Okay, if you have two cards at the end, if one of them you know is a winner, play that first and ask the opponents to make a choice. Sometimes they will go wrong and you make an extra trick. Okay, so in this case, we finished up with next. Sorry, I've just finished this off. So in the end, four hearts was made with one over trick, but you'll have spotted, hopefully, that declarer made an error and could have made an extra trick. So we're at this stage here where remember that clubs, the fourth club from dummy has been ruffed by declarer. All the clubs have now been exhausted from the opponent's hands, so you have a master club in dummy. So what declarer should do now is cash that. Play. So declarer should now enter dummy with the king of diamonds and cash that last club. And of course, on that last club, you're going to discard one of the two losing spades, which means now you only have one loser in your hand. So if you played this out now, of course, you would have to lead a spade from dummy. But then you get the last two tricks. Sorry. Declarer wins the last two tricks with the two remaining trumps, meaning you make two over tricks. Okay, so let's go back to the beginning and just have a look at that in terms of the losers that you identified at the beginning. So if you remember, you identified two spade losers and one diamond loser, assuming that the hearts break, which in fact they did. So let's just keep it simple. You've got two spades and one diamond loser. You discard one diamond loser on the, discard the diamond loser on the queen of clubs in dummy once trumps have been drawn. But you can also discard one of your spade losers on a long club that you've developed in dummy by virtue of entering dummy, roughing a club, and then getting back to dummy. Okay, so just spend a minute making sure that you've understood that. And then what I'd like you to do is to return to the question that I asked at the beginning when the Jack of Diamonds was led. The question was, in which hand do you win the opening lead? So I'd like you to have a think about that now. And then resume when you've decided which is best and what the danger is here. So I'm glad to say that West actually adopted the right strategy. Let's see what happens if declarer mistakenly wins the, sorry, it was the Jack of Diamonds, wins the first trick in dummy. Okay, wins the first trick in dummy and then sets about taking trumps. Again, I'm blocking with the King of Hearts first before continuing hearts, winning in hand, noting the trumps at 2-2, 3-2, and so taking out the last trump. I think actually last time West discarded a diamond here, so I'll keep to the same thing. So all the trumps are out, so now you can set about the clubs. I'm blocking with the Ace of Clubs first, entering dummy with the King of Clubs, cashing the Queen of Clubs, and throwing your diamond away. It doesn't really matter if you throw away a diamond or a spade, it really doesn't matter. And then roughing a club, which is, oh yes, and you've noticed back a trick or two ago that the clubs have broken 4-2. Okay, so now you're going to rough a club. That removes all the clubs from the opposition hands. And now you want to go back into dummy to catch this last club and throw a spade. And you can see immediately now what's happened is that there's no entry to go back into dummy. So this is a really important lesson, okay? When you're developing tricks in dummy that require roughing, developing long suits in dummy that require you to rough out the opposition cards, you've got to have enough entries both to get into dummy to do the roughing, but also then hopefully to get back into dummy in order to cash the clubs that you have promoted by virtue of eliminating all the cards in the opposition suit. And in this case, yeah, you were able to rough out the clubs, but you haven't got an entry to retrieve your the winner that you've established in dummy. And you can see why winning the opening lead, it was so important to win that opening lead in hand, because if you'd have done so here, you would have a low diamond, and here you would have the King of Diamonds, which is actually what Declarer did. And if that was the case, you'd be able to lead your low diamond from hand, win with the King of Diamonds, and then you'd be able to cash your 7 of clubs, the winner there, and discard one of your spade losers. So that's a really important lesson, okay, that you need to take on board and incorporate into your practice. And this is why I'm so anxious to point out the number of times that people cash tricks unnecessarily. Those tricks that you cash unnecessarily too early may be useful entries that enable you to get into dummy, or sometimes to get into hand when you need to later on in the hand. So please get used to not gratuitously cashing tricks. Of course, there are some cases where you need to do it, but there's a purpose behind that. And the point is to cut out the unnecessary cashing of tricks. Okay, this is the second hand here. Again, this is another 4-heart contract, this time, well, by West again. And I'm just quickly going to run through how it unfolded in when it was first played. And then we'll go through it and discuss how we might improve the result. Okay, so the 4 of hearts was led, a heart lead. That's good in these situations where the opener has opened one suit, the responder has changed the suit, the opener has changed a rebid with a different suit, and that's been supported by partner. So in these situations, it's often a good thing to lead a trump if you haven't got anything better to lead, Obviously, top of 3 touching on us might be a better lead, but trump is often a good lead, particularly when you're holding 2 or 3 hearts. If you're only holding 1, or if you're holding 4, this can sometimes be an indication that the trumps are breaking badly. If the trumps are breaking badly, you want to be forcing the declarer. You want to be reducing the trumps held by the opposition. You don't want to be looking for ruffs yourself. You want to be trying to play on a suit that you have values in, if you know what they are, or if you can see what they might be. Okay, so heart was led. Declarer took it in hand, continued with hearts. The hearts, you can see now breaking 3-3. Sorry, 3-2. So she removed the last heart and then made the very good play of the Queen of Spades, leading up to the Queen of Spades there. And she led another spade, put on the ace, and the king was dropped by North, misleadingly, but that's okay. She knows that the Jack of Spades is the winner. And West then continued with the club. One with the ace of clubs, led a diamond back, losing to the ace in South's hand. South continued with clubs, good. And clubs again, not so good, because this gives a rough and discard. Actually, it doesn't matter. So wins in hand. Sorry, wins in dummy with the Queen of Hearts, then leads a diamond, which is 1. Jack of Spades is cashed, and another diamond led, and eventually, declarer makes 9 tricks. That's 1 down. Okay, so let's go back to the beginning, and I'd like you to count how many losers West can see in her own hand. Think of ways of reducing them, if that's appropriate, and thereby find a way for making 4 spades. So take your time to do that. Remember that the 4 of hearts was led. Okay, well, let's look at the losers first of all. You've certainly got 1 loser in spades. It's possible that you may have 2 losers in spades. You could lose to both the king and the jack if they were unfavorably placed, or if the spades don't break very well. Notice that West and East don't have a lot of trumps between them. So although it's easy to say we only have 1 diamond loser here, remember, counting only 1 diamond loser does depend upon having enough trumps to stop the opposition when they carry on leading diamonds, or actually with this hand more likely with the clubs. You can count here only 1 loser in clubs because you've got the ace of clubs, but that actually depends upon the opposition not leading them and then continuing them until you've run out of hearts. So you have to start being a little bit careful when you've got less than, you know, when you're 4-4 in trumps, that there is possibly sometimes the danger that you're going to be forced to ruff. You're not going to have any trumps left, and when you lose the lead subsequently later on in the contract in hand, then you might be defenseless. So you need to be careful. So anyway, it looks like possibly 2 spade losers. Looks like no heart loser. It looks like a diamond loser, and it looks like a club loser. So that would be 4 losers, 2 spades, 1 diamond, and 1 club. Okay, so what's our strategy going to be? Well, we've got no suit really in dummy to discard to discard our losers on. So it's really going to come down to trying to make these spade tricks count in your own hand. If you can limit your losers to one spade loser, you're going to lose a diamond, you're probably going to lose a club if they knock out the ace of clubs. But it looks like what you're going to have to try and do is to develop all these spade tricks here. You've got 6 spades and you want to be able to develop them. So let's see how we should do it. So de Clare actually started off really well. Took out trumps. There's an argument for only taking out 2 rounds of trumps, but we'll go with this. And then made the excellent lead of leading low up to the queen of spades. What you don't want to do is to cash the ace of spades, and then your queen of spades is a sitting duck for the queen, for the king of spades, and then the jack of spades obviously is going to make. So in most cases, so West made the excellent play of playing low up to the queen of spades. Obviously, this is going to be great if North turns out to have the king of spades. If North wins with the king of spades, then the queen of spades is going to make and the ace of spades. Okay, if she doesn't play the king of spades, you go up with the queen, that's going to win. Now lead a spade back and win with the ace of spades. Fortunately, the note that North played the king of spades. That's the card that she is known to have. So it was a good card to play. So when the spades were led up to the queen and South didn't put on the king of spades, it's pretty obvious that North has the king of spades. So when it comes around to this situation, it's good to play if you've got a choice of cards to play, the king and the jack are just as good as each other because the queen has gone. Play the card that you're known to have, or at least by one of the players. Okay, and this is the critical point here. Now, what should West do? Well, it's very straightforward. You've counted 8 spades have gone. You've got 4 in your own hand. That's 12. The opposition have only got 1 spade. What should you do? Take a minute, pause, and then restart when you've decided what you're going to do. This is very straightforward. We've met it many times now. Usually the suit is in dummy, but of course in this case, it's in your own hand. Don't play the 5 of clubs. Play another spade. You know there's only 1 spade left out. You can ruff it. South has to discard. Okay, now you've got to get back into hand to cash those spade tricks, but there's no hurry. You've got... Let's have a look. You haven't lost a trick yet. Okay. You've limited your spade losers to 1 spade loser. Actually, you didn't even lose that. It might have been better in retrospect for North to have played the king of spades on the very first round of spades. At least they would have won 1 trick then. Okay, so now you've got 3 spade winners here. All the trumps have gone. You've got a trump. You've got the queen of diamonds, which is clearly a loser, and you've still only got 1 club loser. So it looks like you've only got 2 losers here. So you can afford to lose them. It doesn't really matter which way round you do it. Probably best to do this. South is going to win. Sorry, you should play the king here. Lowest of touching honours. Okay. Probably best here, rather than playing the ace now, which promotes the jack in dummy, let's force out that ace of clubs. You're holding queen jack 9. This is 3 touching honours or near touching honours, so play the queen. South has to play low. North plays low. Win with the ace in dummy. Lead a diamond. Safe now to play the ace because you know de Clare can't get back into dummy. Ruff the ace of diamonds, play off the spades, and ask the opposition to keep the right card. Again, here we're down to 2 tricks. Okay, don't lead the 10 of clubs. Well, you haven't got any trumps left anyway. That would be disaster. So always lead the winner if you've got 2 cards left and you're not sure whether you're going to win all the last 2 tricks. And then you're going to concede the club at the end. And that means you make 1 over trick rather than, remember, we went 1 down the way it was originally played. So you've converted a 1 under trick to a 1 over trick. That actually, when I looked at the Traveller, constitutes about a 12-point swing. Okay, but effectively a 24-point swing. Instead of minus nearly 7 imps, you turn it into a plus almost 6 imps. So an expensive mistake not to use those, not to develop that long suit in your own hand. Okay, this is the 3rd and final hand in this video. This was back in August sometime. It's a really nice, it's worthwhile just quickly looking at the bidding. West opens 1 diamond naturally. North decided to double, which is a kind of, looks like a strange bid. North decided that he didn't want to just bid those lovely clubs just in case South had 4 spades. If South has 4 spades, it looks like those clubs are going to be a huge source of tricks, and therefore it looks good for game, whereas 5 clubs might be difficult if you're having to lose a spade and 2 diamonds. So it's really taking a long view here, and it could have turned out so nicely. So North doubled here, knowing that they're going to bid the clubs. If partner bids doesn't bid at all or bids a heart, North is obviously going to start bidding clubs quite aggressively. Okay, East just bids normally. Take no notice of the double. Just bid your normal bid. Bids 1 heart. That's good. And South naturally bids 1 spade. With the double, you know, that often means a 4-card major, the fact, or at least a 4-card major. The fact that East has bid a heart leaves, you know, the good possibility that there's a spade fit. But you're worth 3, 4, 5 plus 1 point anyway, you know, and avoid. This looks like, although you don't have to bid here, it looks like 1 spade's a, you know, a really good bid. West bids 2 hearts, obviously having good support for partner. I would have thought, in fact, 3 hearts here would probably be okay. You've got, how many points have you got? 15 plus 3 points for the singleton. I would, it's almost worth 4 hearts here. So I think 2 hearts is a bit of an underbid, but North's got the bit between his teeth and he's going to bid 4 spades anyway. Okay, great contract. Not many. We'll have a look at the Traveller afterwards. Natural lead, top of 3 touching honours, 8 of diamonds. Okay, so how are you going to play this? So have a look at your losers and see how you're going to, particularly how you're going to use that club suit. So have a think about it now, count your losers, and we'll see where we go from there. Okay, so the way that I would look at this is as follows. We've definitely got 2 diamond losers. And I mean, counting from your own hand, it's a bit of a nightmare to count up all your losers. So in this case, I would do what's called a dummy reversal, and I would look at the hand from North's point of view. And from North's point of view, it looks like, providing we can pick up the Queen of Spades, and that's a big if, but we've got 9, trumps between us. We normally play for the drop. If you've got nine trumps, spades, the opposition have got 4. The best play is to play for them being 2-2. So we play for the drop rather than taking a finesse. So let's assume we can pick up the Queen of Spades. What have we got? We've got 2 diamond losers, that's for sure. And then club losers. Well, how many clubs have we got? We've got 7 clubs. Okay, if they're 3-3, then all those clubs are going to run. If they're 4-2, what are we going to do? Well, we should be able to rough a club in hand, in South's hand, and then we need to be able to get back to dummy in order to cash the rest. Okay, how might we do that? So assume that the clubs now, rather than breaking 3-3, because everything becomes quite easy then, supposing the clubs are 4-2, how are you going to play this? Okay, so we're clearly going to have to remove trumps. And if the trumps break 2-2, that's probably not a problem, because we'll be able to get back into dummy north using heart roughs, because you can have 2 trumps left over. You're going to be able to rough clubs in your own hand, south, and then you're going to be able to re-enter north's dummy north with a heart rough. Well, let's just see what happens after the first trick or 2. Okay, so the ace of diamonds was led, so we lost one of our diamonds. We're expecting to lose the king of diamonds now, but unexpectedly, north leads a club. Sorry, west leads a. So what I'd like you to do now is to pause and consider and decide what you're going to do and how you're going to play this hand. Well, I think what I'm going to do is run through the hand as it was played, and let's see what unfolded. And if it went badly, then we can think about how we could play it in a different way. So what happened was that Declara played the ace of clubs from dummy, won that and discarded a diamond, and then started on trumps. And fortunately, this is really nice. The Queen of Spades falls. The downside to that is that we probably now the spades are going to break 3-1, and that means that you're only going to have 1 trump left over in dummy. Okay, we'll talk about that a little bit more later on. Let's just carry on and see what happens. So South carried on by playing the ace of spades from dummy, and then finished taking out the trumps. Oh, she lost that trump to the ace of spades. That was careless. Okay, that was careless. West now cashes the king of diamonds and leads another diamond. Declara roughs in dummy and starts to cash the clubs. But now she's got to hope that the clubs are going to break 3-3. If the clubs don't break 3-3, she's never going to be able to get back into dummy. And as you might have expected, West shows out, started with a singleton club. And now all that Declara can do is cash the queen of clubs, play a club, roughing in hand, and now is helpless. He's going to lose 2 heart tricks because she can't get back to dummy to cash those lovely clubs, and therefore ends up only making 8 tricks, 2 down. Okay, so let's go back to the beginning and see how we might do this a little bit better, and how a little bit of thought, actually a lot of thought, is needed to bring this contract home by using those clubs. That's the key, as always. Now, actually, South is helped by West leading the club there. So let's have a think about this now. Okay, so a club's been led. You might start to think, why on earth, why would you lead a club? And you know, the idea that West might have that might be a singleton club might sort of begin to dawn on Declara. In which case, this looks horrible. If the clubs are breaking 4-2, well, let's think about this. Could be top of the doubleton. It could be 5. She could be leading the 5 from 5-4 or 5-3. So as we've said, if the clubs are 4-2, there's not a huge problem here. You could win with the 8 of clubs, discarding whatever from hands. So if the clubs are 4-2, you have got to ruff one round of clubs and to be able to get back into dummy. So let's assume that the spades are going to break 3-1. You need to make sure that you win the 3rd round of spades in dummy, because you need to be in dummy to make the ruff and then be able to get back into dummy. So this is how it should go. You would take out trumps. And make sure that when you finish taking out trumps, you're in dummy. It really helps that the Queen of Spades drops. And that's something you just have to exploit. Okay, so you're in dummy and you've got this 7 of spades here as an entry in the future. So now what you can do is you can either cash the king, queen, and then ruff a club, and then go back into dummy, and then you've got all these clubs to enjoy. Or you can take the ruff straight away. So let's take the ruff straight away. But unfortunately now, West shows out. The clubs aren't 4-2, they're 5-1. But I just want you to pretend just for the moment that this 7 of clubs, oops, let's play the 7 of clubs here instead. Okay, ruff in hand. I want you to pretend that that 4 of clubs is in West's hand. Okay, so West would now play the 4 of clubs, not the 4 of diamonds, and East has only got 2 clubs left, the Jack-9. Now it's easy. Play a heart, ruff in dummy, and now all these clubs will run. King, queen. Remember that 4 of clubs has gone because it was played by West on the previous trick. East only has the Jack of 9. The Jack and 9 will fall under the king and queen, and then the 10, 8, and 6 will provide spaces for you to discard your hearts or your diamonds, or a mixture of both. And all you'll do is lose the Jack of diamonds at the end, and you will have made 12 tricks. You'll have made 6. Okay. Right, but the clubs are 5-1, and that means that your project is now impossible. Okay, let's battle on and see how we get on. So you've entered dummy, you cash your king of clubs and start discarding hearts or diamonds, doesn't really matter. But you're not able to have roughed out all opposition clubs. So now when you come to play the final club, you can rough it, but now you've got 3 losers in hand. You've already lost. You lost the first trick to the ace of diamonds. You're going to lose 3 tricks. That's 1 down. Okay. Right. So can you make it with the clubs being 5-1? So what I want to do is to go back to this point here. Okay, the first trick has been won by the ace of diamonds, and West has now led a club. So I want you to think. So I don't know if you've been able to solve this. It's a difficult problem, and we'll talk about whether anybody found the solution to this from the traveller in a minute. But let's have a look at how we can make 4 spades. So the trick here is we know that if the clubs are 4-2, we can make the contract, assuming the spades break, and we can finish up in dummy with the ace of spades and so on. But the spades do behave actually quite well, so there's no problem there. So we can make the contract if the clubs are 4-2. If the clubs are 5-1, which might explain this club lead, okay, might hope, I mean, West will be hoping that East partner will be able to win with the king of spades if they've got it, and then be able to lead a club and to get a ruff. So that's what West is thinking, but it's a clue to South. South might think, oh, this could be a singleton, could be a doubleton, in which case I'm okay, but if it's a singleton, what am I going to do? Okay, well, what you do is, you know, you don't have enough entries if you take this with the ace of clubs, because you've got to get into dummy to ruff once, you've got to get back to dummy to ruff again, and then you've got to ruff, get back into dummy a 3rd time in order to retrieve the club tricks that you've established by ruffing. So the thing to do is to take advantage of the fact that the opposition have led the clubs. East knows that South has no clubs. So you use the fact that the opposition have led clubs to take a ruff straight away. Now you follow your strategy of making sure that you take, you're fortunate that the Queen of Spades drops, because now it's easy to take out trumps in such a way that you finish in dummy. That's really important. You might also want to just keep the 6 of spades there. Don't really need it, but there as an entry, but you've got the heart ruff as an entry. Okay, so you must finish your taking out trumps in dummy so that now you can take another ruff. Okay, so, and your worst fears were realized. West throws away, you know, the clubs are 5-1. We've had 2 rounds. East only has 3 clubs. So now you can enter dummy with the ace of, with the heart ruff. And now you can cash all the clubs. And of course, at the end, it's obvious to the opposition that you're going to be in dummy with the Jack of Diamonds. You're going to lose the Jack of Diamonds at the end, but you'll still make 6 tricks, even though the clubs were 5-1. Okay. So what I want to do now is just go and have a look at the traveller, because that holds a couple of points of interest there. Okay, so this was the hand here. So this was played, this was back in the middle of August. So we'll have a look at the traveller. This is really interesting. So firstly, so this is from the point of view of South declarer. So these points are for North-South, that was declarer. And you can see that most people finished up in a club contract. So 5 clubs, 5 clubs. I need to put the glasses on. 5 club. We can make this a bit larger, actually. I think. Yeah, there we go. So you can see 5 clubs, 3 off, doubled, 3 off, 5 clubs, doubled, 2 off, 5 clubs, doubled, 2 off. Obviously, North being a little ambitious. Well, not ambitious, being naturally ambitious about their club suit. And but of course going 2 or 3 off because the trumps were breaking so badly, and of course with clubs as trumps you can't rough them out, so you're stuffed with losers there. So the club contracts didn't go well. 5 clubs all doubled, 5 clubs doubled here only going 2 off. There's a 4 clubs doubled going 1 off, 4 clubs not doubled going 1 off, 4 clubs and 2 clubs all going 1 off. So in fact, if you look at it, every single north-south here, apart from these 2 at the top, everybody scored a negative score and received, some of them received positive imp scores simply because they didn't go off very much. The big negative scores here was the 5 clubs doubled going 3 off. And then somebody ambitiously bid 6 spades and went 4 off, only making 2 spades. Remember, and that's what our declarer did, only they only bid 4 spades and went 2 off, and they weren't doubled. So it kind of got off. So this 6 spades is very ambitious, doubled, and obviously not well played to go 4 off. So the only 2 north-souths to get positive score was one north-south pair who just stayed in 2 clubs, which seems almost unbelievable, but turns out not to be a bad score at all. And then 1 pair here who bid 4 spades. Okay, there weren't very many pairs who bid 4 spades, but 1 pair did bid 4 spades and made 1 overtrick. Remember, we made 2 overtricks. If it's, well, it depends how, obviously, how the opposition play it. But only 1 pair made 4 spades, and they got a whopping nearly 14 imps. Okay, so let's see how they did it. Did it go the same way? Did they play the clubs correctly, the roughing and the finishing in dummy after taking out trumps and then being able to re-enter with the 4th spade? Let's have a look. Okay, same lead. Different continuation, no club led. That makes it much, much more difficult now. In fact, impossible now, because you're simply not going to have the entries, even if you rough the club now. Okay. But in fact, oh, okay, so a club was then led, and at this stage, you can still make, still make 6, no, you've lost 2 tricks already, but you can make the rest now if you do what we did, which was to rough that first club. Okay, so let's see what happens. Ace of clubs led, take out trumps. Note they do the right thing in finishing in dummy. Okay, now they cash, start cashing clubs. Failed to notice that West showed out on that first round. And then look, claimed the rest of the tricks. Okay, how do you win the rest of the tricks when East has got Jack 9 sitting over the 10-8? Unfortunately, we can't play. Yes, we can play it. So how do you claim the rest of the tricks here? Okay, obviously you're going to have to take 1 rough at least, but actually you need to take 2 roughs and you can never get back into dummy. So you do that, play your Jack of spades, and rough it in dummy, but now you've got to make another rough, which is fine, but you can't get back into dummy to cash them. Okay. So north-south claimed the rest of the tricks, and east-west erroneously and foolishly conceded. So actually, let's stop share. No, let's go back. So actually this 4 spades plus 1 is a false score. They actually went, they should have gone 1 or 2 down. Okay, if the opposition hadn't conceded. In other words, nobody made 4 spades and then made an over trick or 2. Okay, in fact, nobody made 4 spades at all. Okay, so I thought that was really interesting. Okay, let's stop share and hope that was helpful to you. There's much more difficult hands there, and you can start to think about the things that you do need to bear in mind. Long suits, the use of long suits in developing winners in your own hand, or a long suit in dummy, which you can then use to throw losers in your own hand. And what you need to do is you need to keep account of that suit so you know what's going on. You may need to ruff in your own hand, but in that case, you need entries back into dummy, for example, in order to cash the tricks that you have promoted. So you need to think about all these things. You need to think about how many of that's the critical suit the opposition have, how they might be divided, and to keep account as you go along. And you need to think about your entries, okay? And in the last example, this was really difficult because not only did you have to think about that, but you had to make sure that when you finished taking out trumps that you were already in dummy. You didn't have enough entries to fiddle around going backwards and forwards. So sometimes you need to think quite deeply and in quite a detailed way in order to bring these contracts home. So I hope you found that interesting and possibly even inspiring. And I'll look forward to seeing you again sometime. Take care.